자체가 좀 부정적인 의미를 많이 갖고 있다고 생각을 해서 이 단어를 좋아하지 않는다는 것은 알고 있고요. 그것 자체가 중요한 것이 아니라 가장 중요한 것은 그걸 진학하는 과정에서 너무 많은 사람들이 생명을 잃어서 학생들 같은
turn out for this news conference. I prepared remarks
지울 수가 없는데요. 사실은 미국인으로서 포함해서 많은 역사들이 한국 부분에 많이 같이 1940년부터 1년가량 굉장히 많은 미국을 생각하면서 부자들에게 지난번에 시작했던 것을 알고 실제 경험이 거의 동일한 상태고요. 트럼프 대통령이 사과를 하다가 혹시나 이전에 대통령이 예시가 있었다면 노블리 때 노블리 유족
Well, I would be very pessimistic about that coming under the current administration. President Trump is the worst president we've had in decades. He's completely inexperienced, doesn't know what he's doing. And the idea of President Trump's administration apologizing to the people of Jeju-do or compensating them is simply beyond my comprehension. He should apologize for himself, frankly. If President Obama were still in power, it might be possible to mount a campaign to try and gain an apology or compensation. And I think the way to do that would be to follow the path that was trod by the Nogun Lee families and Nogun Lee survivors who got a considerable amount of attention in the year 2000 in the United States, including front page articles in the newspapers like the New York Times. That is a path that could be followed in order to draw attention to this subject. But I think we're a long way from an apology or compensation. Frankly speaking, and this is one of the things I want to talk about tonight, frankly speaking, the American people don't know anything about the Korean War, let alone the uprising on Jeju Island. I'm confronted sometimes by college-educated adults who can't tell the difference between North and South Korea. So it's very difficult for Americans to even concentrate on something like the Jeju Rebellion because they know so little about this country. I'm talking about Korea as a whole, not just Jeju. So still, though, I think the Nogun Lee folks did draw a lot of attention to their particular case, and that would be the best path to follow. Well, my old friend John Merrill was the first person to call attention to the uprising in Jeju-do in a 1980 article in the Journal of Korean Studies. And he referred to this as the Jeju-do Rebellion. And I understand that many Koreans don't like the term rebellion because it's usually translated as 반란, which has a more negative connotation in Korean than the word rebellion in English. There are many rebellions that are considered great in American history, especially the American rebellion against British rule in the late 18th century. So it's just a matter of difficulties in translation. Also incident, when I see a book say Yu-Gi-Oh! Sakon, that doesn't translate into English. It's a war, but it translates literally as an incident. So that's just another example of the difficulty of translating from one language to another. But probably uprising is the word I prefer to use now. It certainly was an uprising. And it's also a massacre because of what happened to the people that took up their responsibilities to try and defend the island and defend their beliefs and seek justice. Those people were massacred. So it's also, in addition to an uprising, it's a massacre. There's a good book that came out in 2014 I'm sorry, I don't know the author, although I mentioned him in my remarks tonight. I've never met him. But the title of the book is The Massacres at Mount Hala. And it's a very good book and a very good title, I think, because in my view, fundamentally, the worst thing that happened was not the uprising or anything like that, but rather the repression which led to so many massacres. That I was supposed to come here